Hello, welcome to another episode of Meaghan Chitwood Live, powered by BNI. One of my favorite analogies, dating related to networking. That's what we're going to be talking about today. How do you take it from your first meeting all the way to a pretty great relationship of referral partnership? So let's get started. Remember, you can catch us live every Monday, 9 o'clock Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And the replay is always on Instagram as well. All right, Emily, let's talk about how you can't come on too strong in the very beginning when you're networking.
Yeah, you got to have a good pickup line, if you will.
Got a pickup line. You got to kind of start slow. You don't want to come on too strong. And I think you got to remember that when someone is going to give you their credibility by passing you referrals, that's like we're in a committed relationship.
Sure,
Not necessarily marriage,
sure.
but we're in a committed relationship, right?
Right, absolutely.
So for fun, what are some funny things that you've seen of people like coming on a little bit too strong when it comes to networking?
Oh my gosh.
The
easiest one, right, my favorite is people walk up to you with their business card in their hand, and you're like, I guess I would consider it a pro tip is you don't just offer your card to people until they ask for it. That's kind of the first step, right? We're conversing, that's how you know that they're interested, right? If this is like dating, it's like asking for somebody's number, right? You have to chit chat with them and warm it all up, and then they go, "Hey, can I get your number?" Same deal with your business card and with your referral partners. You got to kind of. I did that. I've been doing it for years. And last night I had multiple people that, "Oh, I never got your card." And you're like, "Oh, okay, well, here it is." Right. And because that just automatically knows they want to talk to you further.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good tip for people is don't just shove your number in people's faces.
Absolutely. So 3 weeks ago, I'm in a business trip in LA. It's right after conference. And I get stopped in Target. And I'm on a mission. I've got my next place to go to. And a guy stops me in Target and asks me if I date younger men. And I was like, literally stopped me dead in my tracks. I was like, whoa. First of all, my response was, no, I'm married, but thank you very much. And then after I thought about it for a little while, I was like, oh, he's saying that I'm older. But that was a little intense, right? I don't know exactly if I said yes, like what would the next step be? It was a little too intense. I mean, like I said, I'm in Target. I'm not in the mindset of even beginning to have, I'm not in that mindset anyway, but God, it was so strong. It was so strong.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
When you think about this, it is, so you mentioned your pickup line. Like, what are some examples of good pickup lines that you've heard?
I mean, the most effective one that I use is always, I don't know anybody in your industry and I would love to partner with you so that I can give you some of my referrals. I have clients that ask me for your services all the time and I don't know anybody. So I'd love to get to know you more so I can make that happen. That always is very impressive because it's not about taking from them. And it's also, it complements them. Yes. That's a compliment. A compliment is always your kind of opening line, right? I've heard really great things about you from other people, whether that be true or not. You can say that it makes people feel good.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I often just like jump right into the business element of like, what do you enjoy about your business? How did you pick that industry to be in? Because it kind of helps them. And then you can go into what I think is interesting about your business, kind of, or your industry, but it's genuine, like interest in it. And then if I'm starting to get the warm and fuzzies, then I'll go into, hey, well, I don't know anybody in your industry, or I know, a couple of people, but would love to add you to my network. And that, this is what it looks like, kind of painting that vision for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, asking people about themselves is the easiest thing to do because everybody loves talking about themselves. And so, hey, what do you do? And then even if you already know, and that's why you're standing in front of them, hey, what do you do for a living? And then they start talking and they talk and they talk and they talk. And then their natural thing to say is, well, what do you do? Like, and
Absolutely.
that's just kind of the segue to kind of introduce how you can benefit them, or, you can benefit from knowing each other.
Yeah. Funny story about my dad. My dad loves sitting down and firing a million questions at you. I think you've experienced that, haven't you,
I
with
have,
him?
yeah.
So he just is like very curious. He's just unbelievably curious. And I remember one time someone came to me and was like, "God, your dad's just such a great conversationalist." And I know him, and I know he doesn't talk about himself unless you've asked him something. And I know people don't usually ask him something because he immediately tries to spin it back to them again because he's
Hmm.
just more comfortable being the questioner. So anyway, I was like, "Why do you say that?" "Oh, he was so interesting." And I was like, I went back to him and I was like, "You just fired questions at him, didn't you?" And Dad was like, "Yeah, I was really interested in just what's going on." And yeah, and I'm like, he was called a great conversationalist when he didn't say anything. He just asked a whole lot of questions, right?
Hmm.
So I do think, and really, I think maybe I'm at a point in my life where it really feels a whole lot less about me and a whole lot more about other people, that I'm super comfortable being in the spot of, hey, what do you do and how can I help?
Yes, I think just because we've been doing it for so long, it just comes second nature to do that. Because even last night, I'm like, "Hey, what do you do?" And I met a construction guy who does like restaurant construction, and my brother-in-law, or not my brother, my husband's cousin is also in
Oh
like
yeah.
the refrigeration business. And I was like, "Oh, you guys looking for an employee?" And then I'm like, "Oh, there's all these restaurants here," and like I'm just immediately trying to connect him with people that can increase his business. And so, like, it just because it's a lot of fun and it's super easy, and two, it just feels good to help people. And so I love learning. That was always my favorite part about being a digital marketing consultant, was I have a little bit of knowledge in every single industry because
Right.
it's just fascinating. i've
Yeah.
i've met scrapyard people and I can tell you about how they crush, steel. And like I've just met so many different amazing people that are doing all this I didn't even know existed out there in the world. Like, wow, that's very interesting. It
Yeah.
just is very cool.
Absolutely. So, how does someone who's really getting started get to where they kind of get eased in? So, let's talk about literally real quick, just to help it be very linear for people. What's like, what does it look like when you're showing some interest and you're seeing if they want to go out, asking for their number, setting up that first date, and then kind of taking it from there? Let's talk to everybody about that just so they can get a really clear kind of picture of how I can do it. And it's actually pretty easy to do.
I think so. And so I'm being put on the spot because I don't, because comes so naturally. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you go to this very large room, right? There's all these people. It can be incredibly overwhelming of where do I start? Who do I talk to? That's kind of where, we talked in our other video where you just kind of have to flow. It's completely normal and natural to just walk up to random people. That's what we expect in those environments. It's just to, one of the things we teach in BNI is like the circle. We traditionally just as humans, we close off and we create like a circle of talking.
Yep.
In a networking environment, we should always keep that open so that people have the ability to join us in that conversation. So I think it creates an inviting atmosphere. So if you see that and it's open, it's completely natural. Just walk up to that circle or that
Yep.
opening and say, "Hi, I'm Emily," or and then just start to get to know them and ask questions. Ask lots of questions to them about who they are and what they do, and how you can help is always the best, I think, pickup line. Not enough people say that. And not an I mean, everybody needs something. So how can I help you?
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
And
Is
I would say
always
this
a
on the other
refreshing
side of
thing.
things, always know how other people can potentially help you
Yeah, you don't
because
want to be
then
put
you
on the
can
spot and
say,
have that question be asked and you're like,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah.
How can you help me?"
Yeah. And how can you help me? Well, I've got this, I've got this network of people behind me that, that are always looking for great business people with great integrity, and, would you like to meet? That's how I can, kind of how I can help. But yeah, sometimes people don't even know how you can help. So sometimes yeah. So if you get a deer in the headlights, don't be totally shocked, but then kind of start to pull out, present to them how things that you think you can do to help them as well.
Right. And yeah, so I mean, asking people how you can help them, even if you don't know how you'd be able to accomplish it, you may not be able to do whatever they're asking, but it's a really genuine question that I think is a great pickup line, if you will.
Yeah.
And so once, let's say the conversation goes well and they do ask for your business card and they do want to take it further, you obviously put that in your right pocket, or at least that's where I do it. So I'm like, these are people I have to follow up with. And then, we say, a follow up in terms of dating, you're like, oh, I can't be too eager. And so I don't send it like the night of, but we say, within the next 48 hours, probably you need to send an email, a follow up email saying, thanks, it was great to meet you. I would love to have coffee. And then you can kind of set up that coffee date. Pro tip in that would be obviously giving two options. I'm available on Tuesday morning or Thursday morning, which one works best for you, right? The assumptive close.
And then also, I think a little bit about what you want to talk about next, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, if you can lead people down the road, I mean, in dating, you don't want to act you don't want to be too eager. And same with
business. They do now, like on your online profile, right? It's like looking for serious relationship, or
yes,
only in it for the fun or whatever.
Yes, exactly. No, you're right about that. But it's being very transparent, right? They're being very transparent about what they want to do next. And I think everyone if you're not transparent about that, I always get the feeling of like, oh gosh, this person wants something from me and I don't know what they want. And that makes me nervous when I'm like, oh, somebody wants something from me. So if you say, I just want to meet with you, get to know your business a little bit more because this is what I'm thinking we could potentially do if you're up for it. Okay, all right, great. You're not gonna be hitting me up for business and I'm not gonna have to say no and all that kind of stuff. So I think being really transparent about where you're heading is really a good pro tip as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, it's always about how you can help them and making it mutually beneficial. It's okay to be like, I know the long game is I'm going to benefit from this relationship, and that's what the motivation is behind this. But it needs to also include them as well, and that they would also benefit from that partnership. So mentioning that in your follow-up email is key to getting them to go on that first date with you.
Yeah.
And then
getting into like our BNI relationships, right? They become exclusive. You become the person that I send all my business to for that particular thing. And that's an important piece of, building trust, feeling comfortable, trusting that the other person's business is high quality, all those kinds of things. But that really is the next step, even if you're not in BNI, is how do I create an exclusive referral relationship here?
True. And I think the biggest challenge, like outside of the BNI world in casual networking, because you can take it from a casual networking environment to that kind of relationship, it's just incredibly difficult because one of the things that makes it so successful in BNI is the visibility, which we always say, right? Visibility, credibility, profitability. Visibility is very difficult when you aren't being held accountable to it. So and what I mean by that is we meet each other on a weekly basis. I see this potential referral partner every single week. So it's kind of hard to avoid them and not develop a relationship. Whereas outside of that environment, I have to put a reminder on my phone. I have to, send in my workflow. I have to do like a weekly follow-up. I have to, constantly be thinking about nurturing that relationship. You see that in ways in like payroll, like ADP, always dropping off donuts to the CPA or something like that. But there are days when you're weeks or months where your life gets away from you and you haven't stopped by in 4 months. And so what's the benefit, why would I send you the business? And then somebody has the opportunity to swoop in and steal that relationship. So it's very difficult in the casual environment to create those types of deep, trustful relationships that are going to genuinely start to refer you business, that like we previously talked about, without having that level of accountability and visibility with those partners.
I always say you can do all the things we do in BNI alone, like what you just said, you got to get face to face is the best, but at a minimum of video call, right? With the other person at least once a week, talking about what am I looking for this week? What do you have for me? Right. Which is kind of what, generally speaking, what our BNI chapter meetings look like. And I just think it's just much more efficient to do it within BNI because you're not only doing it with one person at a time, you're doing it with this group of people.
Right.
So it's just really super efficient. So for BNI members, you go out, you find this person, you go, oh, I really like them. I want to get more committed. Bring them into the BNI chapter because then that means that you like the accountability is sort of done for you without you having to set the whole thing up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We could continue to talk about this forever and ever and ever. I do think let's talk next time about some tips on what can happen in that weekly touch point, and how that can really help as well. I think that could help people. Again, you don't have to be a part of BNI. It just happens to be a little bit more efficient. So we'll talk about that on the next one. And as always, it's good seeing you, Emily.
You too, Meaghan.
All right. Until next week.